night.
Is it working? Hey, cat, get off! Cat, get off of the
We have
expensive
such
equipment.
professional intros, don't we? Cats flying everywhere. Random conversation jumping in on.
Well, it takes a minute for everybody to get here. Uh, yeah, I just got through wiping all the cat tracks off the top of the MK2 there
Mm.
because it was just dusty in here, guys. Like it is seriously dusty. Uh, been a busy day though. Everything's covered in dust. I cleaned this weekend, but you can't tell it because I stirred up too much dust today. All right, let's see who
Well,
all showed up so far. Oh, that's a bunch of comments.
there are.
Yeah. Good day, Chris. E.T., Brian, some of the usuals, Jack, Jack again, Dart. That's it. I don't recognize that name. Hello, Dart. Brad Ham, repeat customer there. Midnight Sunworks, Roger Court. Roger sounds familiar. I think he's been here before. Mark, of course, Jeremy, Paul, Sam Gardner. Yeah, it looks like a bunch of the usual suspects. So maybe it'll be a fun night. I see Brian's here. I'm sure he'll be bringing some of his humor with him. I need to move my mic around a little bit too
Yeah. Well,
before they start fussing about can't hear me.
yeah. I'll have to move mine away, and you have to move yours closer. But
Yeah. Why are you
good
not out in the
evening.
shop, Steve?
I am. Oh, you know, go figure. Today's the day it finally warms up here. I mean, it was. I think I saw my outdoor thermometer hit like 26, 27. So it's a veritable heat wave. Um, but today's the day we decided to have some car trouble. So I have been in and out of the windy but warm but still cold weather, trying to figure out why my wife's car wasn't wanting to start. And yeah, I just decided after leaning over, bending over into a car hood most of the day, I'm just going to sit here in my more comfortable office chair and not, I didn't heat up the shop. It stayed pretty warm in there, but it's still like about 50. So I opted for the office tonight.
Somebody's asking if you got a rocket in the background. I think it is actually a little replica
That
rocket.
is, yeah, that's a Saturn V rocket. It's actually the Lego kit uh, for part of their. That's one thing I collect is the NASA Lego kits. So
Brian says you got a good camera and everything in the office tonight. He's bragging on you. You know, he's been ragging on you a little bit out there in the shop.
well, yeah, lots of things moving around out there, and next I got to work on I got to work on updating the lights in both shops. So
No, I wouldn't. I don't know that I done a live stream on the car issues. That y'all might hear some language that would
yeah,
get me messed up. But Pete, I don't ever know if it's Pete or Debbie, but Pete and Debbie Whitman asking about Lightburn 1.5. I'm assuming I've been using it, but I just been using it like regular Lightburn, so I really haven't played with any of the added
I
features or anything.
don't think 1.5 is out yet.
Oh, is it not?
No,
I
you've
thought
got
mine was 1.5.
1.4.0. Like you've got
Let me see here. About
1.4.05. Um,
Oh, well, I guess my dyslexia got me, guys. Sorry, I put the
but no,
five in front of.
I did I did watch a couple of previews on that, and they are putting in some nice. I think they already have like the skew option that allows you to kind of adjust the the taper of the image, but it sounds like they're putting in a like a tool that you can put like the top diameter of your tapered glass and your bottom diameter or whatever, and it'll help automatically adjust your artwork for that taper so it comes out looking square. So that's
Okay.
that's probably the biggest one I was looking at. They're also playing around with the way the radius tool works, allowing you to a little more flexibility with that and working in more locations. So well, a lot of design stuff coming out that I'm looking forward to. But yeah, um, haven't had a chance to play with it myself. I've been a little light on the videos this past couple weeks, and just life's been hitting me left and right between work and now vehicles and things. I just haven't had the shop time I'd like to play around with things. So
Yeah. Et said he wants to say thanks for checking his problem with his eights are not being able to make circles. But yeah, if you're not making circles, like I said, belt tension, timing, and possibly, I found this one. I had this problem with my X40 this week. I had the same issue when I got to doing some real small detail testing. Possibly, if the concentric wheels, if you have them, if one of them or both of those are too tight, it'll also cause a minor deviation. That's what I had going on with the X40. So I had to do a little adjustments to it this weekend, and I just went ahead and went through the whole thing and tuned everything on the gantry since I've been running it for a little while, and everything should have broken in. And she's running like a top now, so no more issues.
yeah, those things are, yeah, usually they're going to be some sort of mechanical type thing to start hunting down. So it's a good time just to go through your laser and check anything that moves, the wheels, the belts, the timing linkages, things like that. Make sure nothing's binding, nothing's slipping, all that kind of fun stuff. And that's,
Yeah,
that's an interesting thing. One thing I've talked with people, there's a lot of people that like the all-in-one kind of pre-built as an option, which they're great. It gets you running fast. But I'll always say, anytime you have the assembly, while as frustrating as it might be, you learn a lot about how your machine works by assembling it and putting it together, which makes troubleshooting it a little bit easier because you generally have a slight understanding of how it went together and how it should be operating.
yeah. Samuel, I hope it's just you. It
Sorry.
doesn't. Nothing looks blurry on my end. But that's about it. Brandy, we've already had the conversation. Apparently, it's a Volkswagen, and I haven't worked on a Volkswagen since the '90s. And the last one I worked on was like the Beetles. If it was a Beetle, I can rebuild a
Oh,
Volkswagen engine in my garage.
yeah. If it was a Beetle,
But
we'd be
it,
fine.
yeah, these new Volkswagens are a whole nother thing. This is basically a BMW.
Yes.
So
But Brandy, it was really nice of him. He did offer to come up next weekend to help get it running for me. So,
I don't remember that.
oh, well, I'm pretty sure that's what I heard.
I might have said that next summer.
I told you we're in a heat wave.
Yeah, y'all see, yeah, you need to come down here and get your weather and take it back north. My gosh,
Well,
man. Sheesh.
looking at the long-term forecast, I'm seeing some mid to high 40s, and I'm trying not to jinx it, but
Hey,
February may come in pretty nice.
we're gonna hit 70 next week. So,
Yeah, well, talk to me in the summer.
but uh, but yeah, but yeah, it's been a busy day today. I'll show y'all this. I'm gonna go ahead and throw it out there. My camera's oriented a little funny, but yeah, it's sideways. I don't know why that is. Yeah, I do, because I was doing something at the front of the table the other day, so I turned it. But yeah, that's a whole bunch of work right there, and got that done. And of course, you've seen all the upgrades that's went on over yonder. I've been
Yeah, you've been
having a hard
busy.
time getting away from that machine. I can literally make most anything now, and it's just cool. I'm even got me a another one of my little arms that I'm making to put my light on, so that I can like mount it up here exactly where I need it to be. So yeah, it's it's been busy in here. I've been out here past 2 days. My Brandy says I've been doing more playing than I have working, but I have done some work too, as indicated by the camera back there. I have done some work.
Well, it's
So
nice when you can let one or two machines do their thing while you play on the other, but
yeah,
you know, can only do that so much. But yeah, part of it, you'd be surprised at the number of people spend the majority of their time in their shop making shop upgrades and shop fixtures, and you know, it's kind of the
yeah,
joke. You spend more time making fixtures and tools and storage and whatnot than you do actually making things.
yeah. But it was fun. I get them off of Amazon. I order them. Now I order them in a big box, so you can probably get them in a smaller box. Uh, Let me go back and look at my orders here. I'll give you the Actually, whoa, there they were. Yeah, no, I even mentioned I need to reorder, and it is already like they are prepping me for this. Let's see. Look, there's my cutting boards too. I
They,
got to order both of those. I knocked a dent in my supply of bamboo cutting boards today, also. So,
well, you got all that Alexa stuff out there. They're listening.
oh yeah. Well, hey, it's worth the inconvenience. There's the handles that I use on Amazon. I order them in a 32 pack though, and I'll usually order 2 packs at a time. So, and then I order two packs of the cutting boards, which come like 20 to a pack. Oh, there goes my comments. Golly. Oh, I wish they'd fix that.
Yeah, that's annoying. Hey, here's a question from Not Bored Woodworking. He's got an X-Tool D1 Pro for over a week. Is doing a test burn needed if your prints seem very clean and clear on wood and slate, or is it just good to do when changing materials? Um, so, I mean, if everything's coming out clean and clear and the the depth or the color you want on wood, then I would note those settings and make sure you save them. But know that especially when you're talking about engraving, different wood's going to look different at different powers and speeds. So that'd be a reason to run a test, is that you may want to see the range of darks to lights that you can get, um, and they can vary from a soft wood to a harder wood, or how much grain it has and such. Same thing with slate. You can actually get various tones from, when it's really high powered, it'll be a little more yellowish almost, all the way down to a brilliant white to maybe a little more fuzzy white as you adjust your speed and power. So you might want some of those tones, but really, the engraving part is to identify the shades or the quality, and then the power and cutting is something that's going to be more important with different materials, is to know that you can run it at a certain speed and be cutting successfully, or if you might be running too slow, or you might be running too hot where you're going to run into problems. So I find it very important on cutting, the engraving side more of just to kind of pick the color or the tone or the depth that you're looking for.
Yeah, I would say if you've got time and you've got some spare material, doing a speed and power test is always good because even though you're satisfied with the look, which wood's very forgiving, especially with a vector, but even though you're satisfied with the look that you're getting, you may see something, the grain may come out less, the grain may come out more. There may be variations that you actually like and would want to use for, some designs. So it's not a bad idea to run the test anyway, even though, a lot of, I did one tonight, literally. I just guessed at it and ran it because I didn't want to spend the time to do the speed test because I had to have it done by tomorrow. But but it's if you have the time, you can sometimes find like a little jewel hiding in the settings over there to where you're like, wow, that really looks good. So it's not a
Mhm.
bad idea, but it's not entirely necessary if you're happy with the results you're getting. But yeah, Jack, I can't I haven't had a problem with too many of those handles. Every now and then, my camera looks like it's freezing up for a second. Every now and then, I'll have one of those handles that will, probably because I over tighten the screws, that I'll pull the threads out of it, but it's rare, especially since I've gotten a little more careful with them. I used to get in a hurry. Oh, da, 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 da.
So Brian's telling you need to stop messing with Brandy's X Tool screen printer, but you guys did do the T-shirt video on that. How'd you like the process? How'd you like it?
Oh, the lasering process was fine. I've kind of got my S1 set up now to where that's going to be my go-to machine for that. Uh, I could make a jig and use the P2 for it, I think, but I've got the S1 and I've got it. All I got to do is run a vent tube over there to it. It's wireless, so it works pretty well. I did have a little issue, and if anybody gets one for the S1, don't take the two screws out that have the copper wire under them and use those, because if you do, it's going to sense that those screws, even though they're in there, that plate doesn't touch that little copper sensor wire, and it triggers a missing screw alert. I didn't know there was such a thing, but there was. And so I had to put those two screws back in slide it over, and use the two empty holes beside it, put the screws in there, and it worked fine. But yeah, I went to send it, and it was like, boom, missing screws. And I'm like, how in the world does it know I'm missing screws? And then when I pulled it out, I realized it has basically two sets of fingered contacts. And until that screw tightens down on those contacts, it does it like it basically like a little limit switch. So I had
Yeah,
to put them back in.
I I I worry about the long term, you know, as these machines age and some of those sensors or things start getting loose, how many of those things are going to cause problems, kind of like with the when they added the flame sensors, people were getting false positive trips on it just from sunlight and such. So, I hope it doesn't cause problems with the lasers just from
Yeah.
aging and such.
Well, if you take those screws in and out, I don't know how thick that little copper contact is, but that could, I mean, it could be a potential problem. But now
Hmm.
the good news is it literally showed me on the screen and had three arrows pointing to the screws saying screws not properly installed or something on the screen. And I'm like,
Yeah.
seriously? So, I mean,
Yeah.
I guess if they go bad, you could always just drop a little solder in there and fix them up.
Well, yeah.
Bear Man is asking, says looking for a beginner CNC. Any advice? Would like to stay under $500. The $500 is going to be a little bit of a challenge, but you're going to be more like I'd say the 40/40 or
Yeah.
one of
Well,
those.
if it's for oak whiskey smokers, that's not a huge, that's not a huge area. Although one of the nice things about a CNC is being able to, automate things to a degree. And, if you have a bigger working area, you can just queue up X number to be cut out from that piece of material. But I would agree. I think in that price range, the only one I've seen that I would look at right now is, you're looking at that Genmitsu 4040 Pro. Um, get the upgraded holder to make sure you can drop in a like a DeWalt router or something in it. So that'll bump your cost up a little bit more. But as far as being able to carve out anything, you're going to want the extra power. That's it. It's a tough in that price range, but I think that's one I would definitely look at up, and from
Yep.
there it's yeah.
Well, that's where I started off. I mean, that was my
Mhm.
first CNC was the 40/40. Now, I will tell you this. Hindsight, go with a variable speed 65 millimeter rather than the DeWalt. I, I was a DeWalt fanatic, and that's why I went with this DeWalt. But since I've got the Makita, been able to turn the speeds down and up with a more of a, I guess, difference in settings. I like the Makita better. And I haven't had the problem everybody keeps talking about with the knob turning. I haven't had that problem yet. So I
Yeah,
do
it'll come.
like the way I do like the Makita. I do like the way the Makita works. So
Um,
I think it comes with a 65 millimeter spindle holder already. So that
yeah,
would be
I'm not
an
sure.
easy
Uh,
upgrade.
but DeWalt does have a variable speed trim router that would fit in there too.
Is it 69 millimeter?
Yeah, yeah, it's
Huh.
the 611. I ran those in my open builds
Well,
ox
mine
for a
was
while,
variable
and
speed, but on one it was running 12,000 RPMs.
well, yeah,
That was the problem I had.
okay. So you wanted a slower speed one? Yeah,
Yes.
that's hard to. I mean,
Yeah, because I've actually
Makita
got two
goes.
of those.
You can get some. There's more people coming out with that trim router size spindles and such that even get lower speeds. Um, which is good having that. It's rare that you need to run these things at full bore. So
Yeah. Well, let me see if I got where's my list at. But if you compare the two, the Makita can go down slower than
yep,
the okay, where's it at? There's a Makita. DeWalt RPMs. Okay, I got the reference charts. On one, the DeWalt is running 16,000 RPMs, whereas with the Makita, let me open that one up. With the Makita on one is running 10,000 RPMs. So that's a big difference when you start because like I bought a slab flattening bit and it was leaving scorch marks because it was running at 16,000 RPMs. So with the Makita, it doesn't do that. So That was something that took me learning is with the Smith, and there's no way to cut plastic with the DeWalt because it will melt plastic. But with the Makita, I haven't tried it yet, but I think I can slow it down a little bit and actually be able to do it a little better. So,
Um,
and and if Genmitsu sends it to me, maybe I can get their 65 millimeter spindle that they got that actually has the ER11 collet and try it out. If not, I'm just going to buy one and test it.
yeah, the other CNC similar to the 4040 that might be good is what is it? Mouse Mouster Fox Alien Mouster Pro is very similar to that. Now I don't have any experience with this, but Genmitsu and Fox Alien machines are very similar, and they kind of compete with each other. So I think that one's a little bit more though the similar size, but those are two decent brands that have some options that are worthwhile without breaking the bank.
Yeah.
There's a lot of them out there that are just these little desktop machines that look like they have a little brushed router or brush motor, and I would kind of avoid those. But when you get into that 4040 or even the 3040 maybe, but
Yeah. Oh,
it's
well, somebody was asking what's a good speed to run. The only experience I have limited experience with CNCs, but I will tell you this: I downloaded IDC's basically his tool settings to import into VCarve, and I've been using it even though my bits aren't made by him. I've been kind of using it as my go by for jump offs for my bits, and I'm running mine right now with the 6050. I'm running about 70 inches per minute, and I'm running the 1200 setting or 12,000 setting on the Makita, which is the 2 on the dial, and it's cutting really really well. So that's that's my
so
go-to right now is 2
I,
on the Makita.
I
What
get
do
a
you think?
lot of these. I don't know if this is going to show up on here, but they're from Cadence Manufacturing, and he calls them the Jenny line of bits. Um, but he has right on there, and he gets them labeled the feed rate and the speed on there. Of course, it's not going to want to focus because I have it kind of on me, but yeah, the some of those ones like IDC and Tools Today with their monobits and such, they generally have some good baselines to start from.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
anyway,
I'm just playing with Amazon bits right now until I get the hang of it. The ones that I found that I like the best actually are the Speed Tools.
they're decent. Yep.
They're doing a pretty good job, and they stay really sharp unless were to go through a screw with them. Let's then it dulls them a little bit.
That can
But
happen.
yeah, I've been running a 1/4 inch Speed Tool down cut, and it's doing a really good job. Even after cutting the head off of a screw, it's still cutting good. But I've got like a 5 pack coming because I've got to replace it because it does sing a lot more now. It wasn't as noisy until after it cut the screw in half.
Yeah. So jumping back to the screen printer, Brad Ham is asking, can you use the screens with any laser? And yes, you can. Um, they are steel based screens, and so you're just kind of blasting away the emulsion from that. And so really, CO2 diode, as long as you can get the frame within your working area, you can definitely use any laser with it. You don't need to use an X tool machine. So that makes it nice and flexible. And they're supposed to be coming out with different size screens as well. So I would imagine you might even be able to use these on a more typical screen table if you wanted, or a tree, I guess is what they call them. But it's an interesting thing. And they had promised me some extra frames, and they did finally show up. So now I'm just waiting for them to have the availability to be able to buy more screens because my wife has some ideas and I have some ideas, but I want to play around some 2 color setup. Use the alignment tool and try that.
Yeah, somebody had asked me about using them with a different laser, and that's what you know said that I needed to build a jig to be able to use them, so that you could use them with another laser. And I told them I already have. It's called a squaring jig. It's basically a 90-degree square. You set it in there as long as you set it in the same spot every time, then
Yeah,
you're good.
Yeah, the
So
key is getting your screens, putting them in the frames and then getting them aligned in the same spot so it burns the different layers relative to each other, and then not taking those screens out of those frames. So,
yeah, you have to sometimes. But hey,
well, one,
it was actually
but
tighter when I put it back in there.
I'm just saying once you do that, it's not going to be aligned anymore. So,
Oh no, I knew it wasn't going to be aligned. That
yeah,
was my test screen.
yeah.
I did it
For
upside down, so I cheated.
Yeah, well, and it's fine for a one color, but multicolor they got to
Yeah,
be they got to be aligned
with
and registered. So,
yeah, with the multicolor, it's the same basic process as I do with the mirrors. Is you have to make sure that whatever you're when you're engraving that the image is in the exact same location every single time. But yeah, it's fun. Brandy liked it because when they reached out to me, I was like, screen printer. And I told her, I was like, can you believe they want me to try to do screen printing? And her eyes lit up. And I'm like, wait a minute. she thinks she wants to do screen printing. And she had fun with it. She does a lot better job than I do. I really kind of messed my hoodie up. But we did find, too, that with that, uh, after about, I'd say probably about an hour or so of having ink on that screen, it's not a bad idea to go wash it, clean it,
yeah,
then go back because it does build up a film in between the screen a little bit.
yeah. If you don't keep them wet, that ink that comes with them, it's an air dry option, and so it starts drying pretty quick, and
Yeah.
it's not fun to clean that out if it gets really mucked up in there. So,
Well, I don't know if we were supposed to or not, but we were testing it to see if it worked. But we took them into the kitchen sink and washed them with just cold water,
oh yeah,
and they came clean, and the emulsion didn't come off. So I think it's a win in our book.
yeah,
Uh, Brandy says she's gonna have to have a sink put in out here if this becomes
yeah,
the Brandy barn.
yeah. That's one thing I'm missing out in my shop too is any sort of running water because I usually bring a jug or something out in case I gotta wipe something down or whatnot. But
Well, I got a water hose out front. That's what I told her. I just put her like a little fish cleaning sink out there. But she wants it
hmm
indoors. Somebody's asking, will a 2 watt on an S1 work good on powder coated tumblers or will a 40 watt be better? Uh, Tim, if you're at the 2 watt, now keep in mind the 2 watt is an IR module. The 40
hmm
watt is a blue diode module. So that's two different animals. But if you're just doing powder coated tumblers, me personally, from a time management perspective, the 40 would be the route I would go. What do you think, Steve?
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. Both between, your focus is more forgiving, where it's effective, and the size of the 40 watt. Unless you're doing something crazy detailed, most times you're doing vector type art on tumblers and such. You're gonna be spending a lot of time with the finer point of that 2 watt IR than you will with the 40 watts. I would powder coated tumblers. I'd take the 40 watt diode any day over the 2 watt IR. Now, if you had a true fiber Galvo 20 watt, yeah, it'd probably
Yeah.
run faster. But
Well, you'll be able to knock out tumblers a heck of a lot faster, even with the 20 watt module for the S1 than
yeah,
you would the two. The 2 watt is not really intended for doing stuff that big, in my opinion. That's intended for doing like lockets, little jewelry type stuff. I don't
yeah,
maybe a knife blade or two. It's not really intended to be doing a whole tumbler. That would take forever.
yeah. It's more, like the 1 inch round medallions, the dog tags, things like that.
Yeah. Are you talking about my who's right coin?
Yeah,
It always lands on this side. I don't know why, but it always lands on that side. It hardly ever lands on this side.
it's, it's a weighted die. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, James. She's done told me I'm gonna have to upgrade the shack when she inherits it because she does like indoor plumbing. I just take my stuff outside to the water hose. I'm trying to avoid taking anything out there today. I took my cutting boards in the house and washed them.
Well, running water. Pretty soon you'll be renting it out as an Airbnb.
Maybe not. Chris said he has a odd problem with his Masuda Pro. If he cuts 20 millimeter square, it comes out 16. Check calibration tool path is outside. Bit sizes are right. It seems to cut 2 millimeters off of each axis pass. I have to play with that, see what that is.
I,
But
I mean, uh, it, to me that would seem like it's a calibration issue if everything's 2 millimeters off.
yeah,
Um,
but if it was calibration though, the bigger the image, the more it should be off, right?
Not necessarily. Yeah,
Yeah,
in theory, yes, it would be. Yep.
because
Um,
each
yep.
step would be
Yep.
moving more or less.
uh, 2 millimeters off each axis pass.
Sounds like an offset somewhere.
Well, yeah, an offset, or if there's a tolerance set. I know, like within VCarve, you can set a tolerance and then do a final cut as you're on the pass. But I, if it's exactly 2 meters off each pass, yeah, I think it would be something um, in the software at that point.
Yeah, I was just saying, like if you do a 10 millimeter square and it's a calibration issue, the
Right,
difference
20,
in
it would be
size is
twice.
gonna
Yep.
it's gonna the bigger it gets, the it's gonna be
Yep.
exponentially bigger difference. So if it's always 2 millimeters, I think that's a setting somewhere that you got to find. Like you said, either in the machine, the tool pass, or there's got to be something somewhere, like an offset of some type. How much is VCarb? Well, that is a very good question because it depends. Because I found out the other day that it's going to be twice as much when I upgrade to a 4 foot by 4 foot. I think it's
Yep.
like three. Is it 360? I think is what I'm
It's
paying right now.
349 for the desktop, and that gets you 24 by 24, correct? Yeah. And then if
Oh,
you
and
want
it don't mean 24 and a quarter. It means 24.
exactly 24. Um, and so if you want unlimited workspace, you need VCarve Pro, and that one is $700. So it's basically twice as much, but that unlocks unlimited size.
Yeah,
And
Brian
that
brought
get
up a. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to clarify on that because this comes up with Lightboard as well. So that is a perpetual license, and you are provided with, I believe, one version or at least one half version update. So, like if you bought it at version 10 and they come out with 10.5, you get that. After that upgrade, you still use it indefinitely, but if you want to upgrade past that, it there's a certain fee per version or something like that. So,
And I can tell you that you can use 3 computers with it on your license if you get VCarve desktop.
mhm.
Because I had to check that the other day because Klein was whining because he needed some CNC software. So I had to check because I have it on. I have VCarve on this one and the one inside the house in case I'm in there designing.
Yeah, it looks like
Oh,
the upgrades past that first version update is about $175. So definitely more than Lightburn, but not terrible considering it's a one and done unless you bought the smaller version. And then they do. I mean, I think you just pay the difference, but
yeah. Brian, yeah, I agree. If he's in Vectric, if you're cutting on the line, inside the line, or outside the line, then if you're cutting on the line, it's going to be half the width of your bit. It's going to be your shape's going to be smaller than half the width of your bit. So, that could be it too if he's using VCarve. But but yeah. Oh, guess who's going to be at the Workbench Con next month? Besides me, Vectric.
y-
Yeah,
oh,
Vectric.
you were asking me?
Yeah. Supposedly Vectric's going to be one of the vendors, according to the paperwork they sent me.
Cool.
So, yeah, we'll go over there and see if I can talk them into letting me test drive some of their better softwares or something. That would be
Yeah, at
awesome.
some point I'll need to jump into the full blown Aspire.
Yeah, hey, I'm gonna be honest with you. I've started designing since I've started designing in Vectric because y'all know my short-term memory is like non-existent. So I have found out you can actually throw measurements in there. So if you're doing interlocking pieces, you can make notes and put your measurements in there. The little scissor tool, I know it's the small things, guys, but that little scissor tool is awesome.
Hmm.
Uh, it is really really handy. I'm getting to the point where I'm almost in the alignment, being able to like instead of just center or horizontal or whatever, the way it lets you nest boxes inside other boxes, centered or cornered or whatever. it's starting to win me over. It may be my new design tool.
So speaking of Lightburn updates, but that's one thing is they're actually providing guides that you can drag out from the rulers, but also it'll start snapping to different objects and areas. So center align, fully centered, left, right. So
Yeah,
there, Lightburn definitely looks at some of these others and says finds tools like that, both through user feedback as well as just you know a
yeah,
lot of them are a lot of them are into CNC now as they're coming out with their Millmage stuff software hopefully soon.
yeah. But like I said, I'm starting. It's growing. It's growing on me with with all the features that it has. So I'll be anxious to see. Not. Yeah, I heard he is going to be there. He's on the. I think he's one of the speakers on the list. But that's all about me and Vetric. What do I use with VCarve? Right now, I'm using my 6050 over there. Before, I was using I played with Vectric with VCarve when I had the 4040, but I used mostly easel because I was really new to CNC, and easel was just easier. But then when I got over into the 3030 and started trying to do a little more complicated stuff, it got to where I had outgrew easel to where I needed a more powerful design tool instead of just like downloading and sending. Because if all you're going to do is download and send, easel works fine. But when you start trying to design, easel to me is very limited in the design aspect. So that's when I swapped over to VCarve to be able to make tools and make stuff like my cool little boom arms and stuff that I've created in the past couple of days. And now that I've gotten used to it, I've actually canceled my easel subscription because that was money I didn't need to be spending if I wasn't going to use it. And I'm strictly designing everything in VCarve. So it's working really well for me so far.
Cool.
But now
Glad
I've made some oopses like they're talking about where I put my line on the outside instead of the inside, and
Mhm.
I've messed up some material, but I'm
Yeah,
getting
wait
there.
till you start trying to play around with roundover bits and getting those right.
Yeah,
I did that wrong so many different ways. But
yeah.
um yeah, Ed's commenting. I heard X Tools having a trade in on open frame D1s. They're actually
Any laser.
any open frame laser that you can provide proof of. I don't now. I'm not sure what they're if they're wanting a receipt or they just want you to send them a photo with something whatever. But they're calling it a trade in. As far as I understand, you just show proof of purchase or ownership of an open frame laser, and then you decide which laser of theirs you want to buy of the F1, the S1, or the P2. I don't know if the M1 maybe, but all their enclosed lasers. You get a coupon code for a discount. I mean, it's a trade in. It's just another way of having a sale with a coupon code, really.
Yeah,
So, you know, as far as I understand, you don't have to get rid of or turn in your other one. But hey, I mean, they're offering up another discount. If you can take advantage of it, that's awesome.
yeah. I mean, who wouldn't want $500 off? And if you already have a laser and you're looking at upgrading to say, let's say you already do have a D1 and you're like, man, I'd really like to have the S1, but it costs $500 too much. Well, there's your remedy. Uh,
Hmm.
and then you just apply it. Uh, it said $500 off any. I'm not sure
No,
whether
it
they.
was dependent on which one you were going to buy. So it
Yeah,
was up to I think it was up to 400 or 500, and that was if you were buying the P2.
yeah.
But
Okay, so the 500 is the max that they'll give you.
yeah, yeah. So
Okay, yeah,
depending on which laser you buy, you got a differing amount. But you know, if you're in the market for one of those and you have an existing one, yeah, it's probably a um, way to save a little bit of money.
yeah. It says up to $500. So yeah, probably the more expensive, the more trade in you get.
Well, yeah, like I say, it's just based on the one you're buying. I mean, it can be any. I mean, the sad part
Yeah,
is you could probably go on Amazon and buy a $250 open frame laser to trade it in on your, get your $500 coupon on your P1, P2. I don't know. I wouldn't game
yeah.
it that way, but I mean, technically,
Hey, if it ain't in the rules.
Yeah. So Beaver Creek's asking with the X Tool screen print to do more than one color, do you have to remove the first screen and insert second screen to do the next color? Um, well, that's one way of doing it, and you would make one item that way, or you would run one batch. Ideally, you would have multiple frames, so you would put one screen in one frame, one screen in the next frame, and then they provide you a kind of a fixing tool that has basically just two pins, and those the notches on the frame that go into the press actually line up with those. And as long as those get put in the same spot, you'll be able to burn the different layers of your image relative to each other. And then when you put it into the frame with the two notches that lock down on it, they'll be lined up. So you could do that with just one frame, but you would have to put the first screen in, print your first color on however many things you're going to do, take your screen out, put the other one in, then laser the design on your second screen, and then do your second color. But then you'd never be able to get them lined up again with their
Yeah,
method.
you're pretty much going to have to change the frames out every print. So you like print first layer, change the frame, print second layer, change the garment, go back to the first layer, go back to second layer. It's not made to be doing high volume production with. It's just more of a, in my opinion, this is more of a, I want to make some shirts, but I don't want to have this big tree thing sitting in my living room.
Yeah, and X Tool is all about the hobbyist into the small business. So this is the person who wants to play around with it and make a few things. If you're
Yeah.
doing many items and a lot of multicolor, you're going to want a full on tree.
Yeah. Like I said, Brandy's going to do some multicolors, but it's going to be like a shirt for her, a shirt for my kids, a shirt for me, that kind of thing. Because I do have to build a like a holder for the racks for the frames though, so that when she takes one off that's got ink on it, she can sit it on it. Which I done got that figured out how to do that. And I'm gonna just build a design for the CNC and cut me out a little like a holder basically. Uh,
You know what we should do
what's that?
is we should throw a challenge out to people that if they wanted to design a laser engravers community T-shirt, uh,
Yeah.
that
Okay.
we could do a limited run.
Woo! Yeah, they'd be some. They liable to be some crazy designs though.
Yeah,
I
well,
don't. I'd have to talk to. I'd have to talk to my printer. I'm okay with making making the screens, but I'm not the one putting the ink down. So we'd have to discuss that with
well,
her.
you got to remember we got we both have it, so I mean
Yeah, yeah.
we can we could do something
Steve.
like that.
Yeah, Steve. You can't use VCarve on Apple natively, but you can in boot camp your machine or do a VM and do it that way. That's what a lot of people do is they either create a boot camp on the front end of the Mac or just run a VM on there and install it on the VM.
And I'm in IT, deal with computers a lot. I don't have a problem with Macs. I think they're great computers, but when you're trying to run them in an enterprise environment or you're trying to get along with more of this kind of machinist type stuff, um, yeah, if you're going to get into CNCs, you're probably just going to do yourself a favor by picking up a Windows based machine just for that. You can do all your design stuff on your Mac or whatnot, but the control stuff when you get into CNC routers, um, very rare to be able to use the software. I mean, they're some of the ones like you mentioned earlier, that the cloud based or the subscription ones tend to have both. But yeah, eh, there are ways around it, boot camp and other things. But it's sometimes I just find it easier at that point to get a Windows based PC just for that.
Yeah, well, I thought it was kind of weird when we were issued. I got Secret Service issued me a MacBook Pro. Now it was a really expensive computer, but it would not run any of my forensic software through
Hmm.
Apple. So right out of the box, like literally, I took this thing out of the box. We had to boot camp them and put Windows 10 on them in order to use them for computer forensics. So yeah, that's same thing goes with running these CNCs. You can do it, but now you've got to buy a subscription to like VM Fusion or something like that to be able to run either a VM or you have to go in and basically factory restore your MacBook and boot camp it on the front end. So it's just a it's easier just to buy you a dedicated machine for this kind of stuff and not have to fool with all that. Do, 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 do.
Yep. Bearman's mentioning he saw a laser personalization show in Vegas in a couple weeks. Are there any other shows I should look into? East Coast, preferably. Kind of depends on what you're looking for. If you're wanting to get very laser specific, that's one of them. We'll see if Lightburn does Lightburn Experience again, and if they maybe look to put that in a different location. That one. I feel like some of the content creators out there had mixed reviews on it, but I from what I saw, it was probably worth it for a person wanting to learn a little bit about features of Lightburn, maybe a little bit more about operating a business and whatnot, but being very laser focused. There are some others that get a little more generalized into like making or woodworking and such. But if you're um, there's I'm trying to remember the name of it. It'll come to me like in 5 minutes. But there are some more like just general shows that are more around, you know, being in the workshop or more of the maker movement that might include more STEM stuff as well. So, but they're getting fewer and far between, and there some of them are bouncing back. Some of them are fading away. So I have a hard time recommending anything here that it feels like just this past year since the pandemic stuff finally let up and they started allowing more of these or people were comfortable with them, seeing if they're going to grow back or not.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, Atlanta is going to be my very first event of any sort like this, and I'm looking forward. I'm looking forward to it. I'm hoping to maybe learn some stuff, maybe do better on some stuff. I'm probably just going to go over there and get aggravated because they're going to tell me how wrong I am on everything.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I'm looking into it. I'd love to come down, but I
I
don't
was fixing
know.
to say I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting.
Yeah.
Hey, I'll
Um,
make you a deal. I'll come get you at the airport.
well, which one? I was actually looking at, there's Atlanta, but there's also what is it, Birmingham, north of you?
Yeah, I mean, if you flew into Birmingham before I left to go over there, we could work that
Right.
out too.
Yeah. So it actually might be, yeah.
Or
Other
Montgomery.
than other than a lot of Atlanta's more direct because Delta's got a hub up here and down there, but I don't know. Atlanta Airport also just kind of makes me go. But I
Well,
think you'll have fun. I got a couple of my friends that are be there, and they've always spoken
yeah.
highly of it. So
Well, I got your six when we get to the airport, so you'll be fine.
but yeah, we'll I know both David and I have been trying to keep a better eye on some of these things, both for ourselves. But if we find something that's interesting, we'll definitely try to let the community know through here, through our videos, and through the Facebook sites. So
Yeah, like I said, you're the one that actually mentioned it to me. I didn't even know it existed.
I know I didn't think
But
you were going to jump on it that quick, man.
hey, I told you I was looking for something to go to.
I know. Well,
And that's like really, if I don't have to stop a whole lot of times to stretch my legs or stretch my back, I mean, you're looking at 3.5 hours. I can be there from my house. So I mean that if I'm going to go to one, that's a good one to go to because it's so close.
hmm
So, and I really didn't want to drive because I didn't want to take my truck to Atlanta, but I guess I'm going to have to. I've scoped out the motel and everything, and it looks like it'll be secure enough.
yeah.
Maybe I won't come out and it's sitting on blocks. If I do, I got good insurance. So
Well, that was my feeling when I was trying to figure out where to stay coming down to see you last spring and go to Georgia. I was like, yeah,
yeah,
let's find something of the little higher price range. That's just
yeah. So what's up there, light source? How are you there, Patrick? Good evening to you, sir. Uh, Mark, I'll let you know when I get there. And being that it's in Atlanta, they shouldn't have a problem with rednecks, so we'll see. Some of the speakers I think are from far off,
yeah,
Los Angeles and so forth. But
they
uh,
bring them in
but
from all over.
but like I said, I've been to lots of training and stuff where there were other people from other states and countries and stuff. So I think I can handle it. We'll see. TK's 3D prints. Good day over there in the UK. It's almost over there. It's about what halfway to Chris's from here. Oh, okay.
Just trying to get caught up on the chat here.
Yeah, so I'm
Yeah,
scrolling.
the there's the woodworking shows, Jeremy. And I think the closest one to me is in Milwaukee, but I've kind of, I don't know, sometimes mixed reviews on those. The local guild here has been putting on a decent one. I know a lot, number of people came out and saw me at that last year. They just announced today they're going to be doing that again this October, but it's at the state fairgrounds this time, which is a little bit further away from me. But hopefully that's a good place and they're able to keep it affordable as well. But so sometimes finding those local ones, if you have a decent um, group around you that's organizing them, are worth checking out. But when you have to travel, you hate to travel far. I mean, like if I was to go to the Milwaukee one, it's like 5.5, 6 hours for me to drive there and back, and I'd hate to walk it in 15 minutes and be done.
Yeah.
So
Bear Man. It's gonna be a. They're having a conference over there. I guess you could. I guess that was what I'd call it. It's at a conference center, so I'm guessing it was a conference.
yes,
Workbench
Workbench Con.
Con, and it's for like creators in the maker space. And there's gonna be a lot of different people there that do like DIY, woodworking, CNC, all that kind of stuff. And they're having a lot of different like classes and little blocks that you can take from everything from like sanding and it's a whole bunch of stuff. I will say that the tickets aren't cheap, so I'm hoping it's a really good event. But I'll be staying. I seen. I think Knott lives over that way, but I'll be staying at the event complex. I've already got my room reserved, so I'll be staying where the conference is, so I don't have to travel or go anywhere. Hopefully, I'm going to drive over, park, maybe run to the airport and grab Steve, come back, and I won't leave the property. Hopefully, until time to come home, unless we decide to go somewhere in town. Which, since I'm driving, I'll be prepared. So that's one reason I'm
Um,
not. That's one reason I'm not flying. Is my preparation would be hindered if I flew.
well, and sometimes it benefits you to drive because sometimes there's certain things that are given away at these things that are hard to pack home on an airplane. But
Didn't think about
yeah,
that, but that's true.
this conference is really it's a mix. It's really trended heavily towards content creators in the maker space in all sorts of the realm of what they're making and such. But they also do have some classes on just making things. So there's some people that do like the epoxy pours and the epoxy fills and other things like that. But some of the sessions are literally
Just for
managing your side
creators.
hustle
Yeah,
while yeah, it's like how to be a better filmmaker for stuff. So it's
I
definitely
probably need
towards
that one.
content creators.
I probably need that one.
I think we there's always ways to improve it, but
But yeah, but I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, I've never had any official training other than Steve, as far as what I do, because Steve's like criticals, like you shouldn't do that. That looks like crap, or you should probably buy a new
hey,
camera. That one looks
they
bad.
they
You
call it
know,
constructive criticism, man.
so it's going to be a learning experience for me. One thing that I am looking forward to is talking to some of these other creators because there's going to be a lot of guys over there, which I thought I was going to be like the baby on campus, but looking at the people that are coming, I, I'm not as small as I thought I was as far as the scope of things. But I want to hear some of these people's stories and how they got started and all that kind of stuff, and see if it's the same as mine, where it was just like an accident, or and how they do what they do. I think that'll be cool. And besides, I'll have somebody to talk shop to other than just Steve. So, and Klein,
Uh,
me and Klein talk about lasers and CNCs. That's why I
yeah,
keep him in business.
somebody you're not kind of like hiring someone to be your friend.
Well, kind of. I mean, everybody else, when I start talking about CNC stuff, they're just like, but when I talk about it to Klein, he's like, all right, So, yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
So what if I have to like bribe my friends?
So Mike Smith's asking me about more info for the local show. I was just trying to dig it up. It's through the Minnesota Woodworkers Guild, and so I'll try posting the link to that so I can break my chat. Um, so they do a number of events usually around the Twin Cities area of Minnesota, and their big one that they do is in October. It's they've been growing that the past few years and pulling in a lot of national brands as well as local brands. They present they have people presenting different topics, different groups showing off different skills and vendors doing different things. So it's a nice collection of you can see people demonstrating stuff. Oh, and then they have like a tool swap outside and such. But
Yeah,
it's fun stuff. The Minnesota Woodworkers Guild they put that on.
Roger.
But
I will drop a link too if anybody's in the area. I know Knott said he's over there, but while I'm in town in that part of the world, I will probably let some of you guys know because a few people have messaged me and it's like, hey, when are you going to be in Atlanta? You know, I'm just outside Atlanta and wouldn't mind like sitting down, getting to meet up or whatever. So I will put something out and go somewhere and maybe like go out and get a, get a burger or something. And so we'll try to collaborate on that. If anybody wants to come, and like Knott said, he might ride over and we can go check out the Rockler store, which another reason to drive the truck so I can haul all my stuff I buy back. But but yeah, that sounds like something that would be interesting. So if you're going to be in the area or whatever, just shoot me an email, let me know, and just stay tuned and watch out for any updates. But I'll try to create an event on my Facebook page so that if anybody is over there, they'll be able to do it and maybe hit the RSVP button or whatever on Facebook. So I'm not sitting there waiting on nobody to show up. So that would be embarrassing. But it's like I said, it's looking. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be fun. So, and it has been almost an hour, guys. So, we don't beat you guys over the head with it, but please smash that like, follow, subscribe, all those good buttons because it does make a difference in the long run. Like I said, me and Steve are both trying to grow YouTube and Facebook both. So if you haven't seen the Facebook page, if you don't mind, ride over there and check that guy out when you get a chance and hit that follow button. Because I'm at like 2,800 followers, which is crazy how I can have as many as I have on YouTube, but I only have 2,800 on Facebook. So I don't get it. Yeah,
well,
2,800 followers on Facebook, which is I don't understand it. I've had Facebook longer than I've had YouTube, so don't know.
it well, eh,
Different
a lot
audience,
of
I
a
guess.
lot of people who have bailed on Facebook over the years and don't view it as a needed daily thing. So
Yeah,
it's tough. But yeah, appreciate everybody hitting up the all the socials there. I try to be I try to put little insights like if you want to I haven't been as good at this winter, but I try to put little stories and other things on Instagram, kind of behind the scenes stuff. Occasionally drop one on Facebook as well. But so if you want to catch more, those are definitely places to be. But and while you're looking in both of our descriptions, at least on YouTube, we have a link to our laser graver community map. And there's a form there. If you'd like to add a pin, go ahead and fill out the form. You don't have to put in your exact address, just something that Google Maps might recognize in your area. And whatever you want for your name, we'll get your pin dropped on that map as well. In the US, we're still looking for our Nevada and Alaska, but we're starting to see more, um, more, got more areas over in Europe covered and such. So love seeing everyone dropping their pins in there, and maybe in the future we'll use it for planning stuff. But
yeah, it's
should
it's
be
cool to look at.
yeah. And I try to that's it. It takes me a little bit to get it updated. So um,
Yeah,
if you drop it in on an off day, it might not appear for a few hours because I got to manually update it every so often. But
yeah. Uh, well, appreciate you there, Light Source. Yeah, one thing that I will say, not is I don't do a lot with Facebook. Y'all know I stay busy, so I don't spend a whole lot of time flipping through social media unless it's something to do with the Clack Shack. But the only reason I guess I still have it is because there are family members that I never see, and I do have groups that I'm a member of, such as the Merchants Association here in Clanton, where we do a lot of stuff with other businesses in town. So they want me to share their stuff, and I have to share theirs, and it's a cooperative. So I keep my Facebook and I like Marketplace. That's where I got a lot of my tools that you see
Yep.
sitting around here was on Facebook Marketplace. Somebody'd have a garage clean out. I got the Craftsman joiner there. The DeWalt chop saw came from there. The Rikon bandsaw came from there. So that's probably the most I do on Facebook as far as my personal page is just looking through Marketplace, looking for a good deal. So, but I understand. I mean, Facebook can be a pain at times too. But I just stay too busy that I don't really sit and look at it. Especially now that the channel has grown as much as it has, the questions, comments, and all that have gotten to where that's once I get through answering all those, I'm like done with social media for a little while because there's a lot. I mean, especially with Etsy too. There's a lot of comments and stuff that come in,
Mm-hmm.
and so if
Yeah.
you ever do send something or comment and I don't respond, it's probably because I had so many that day that it slipped my mind or I missed it. Because Facebook's terrible about comments, which I think YouTube's probably just as bad as far as replying to comments because you don't get notification. But if you ever need me, Messenger on Facebook or email. If you don't have Facebook, send me an email. That's how I do my orders and stuff is through email. So I always check it.
Wes is asking, will Brilliance work on brass with a diode laser? Brass is one of the more fickle ones, and um, I'd have to go back and look to see what luck I've had with it. But I did also recently just pick up a can of the OhmTech spray as well as a fresh can of Surmark.
Uh huh.
So those are kind of the main three. I know there's a couple others out there like some
That sounds like you're
laser
preparing
marking,
for a
whatever.
video.
I figured, I want to do because I've seen that, in some cases some work better than others or at lower power than others. Of course, then you could go to the whole durability testing somehow, but I'll at least want to do a little more playing around with, everything from maybe like a 20 watt, 10 or 20 watt diode on up to the CO2, how well the different sprays work, and then maybe try a few different metals as well because I'm wanting to see a baseline myself too. But I figured that'd be good information that people would enjoy. So, um, yeah, but brass is just one of those that um, even even on a fiber laser, it can be a little fickle. Getting the nice white or an engraved versus any coloring is just, yeah.
Rusty says his longer B1 40 watt extension is in Memphis. Snowed in.
Mm. Yeah,
Maybe that's where my stuff went.
it's funny. There's a lot of part of the country that has gotten a lot more snow than we have up here. Even just it's like south of us, Iowa, Nebraska, and those they've been getting dumped on, and there are parts of my yard I can still see some grass blades sticking up through it, and the forecast is looking like even that's going to be gone in the next couple weeks, possibly. So,
Yeah. I had a Amazon order that was supposed to have been here Saturday that I got notification to be here next week. So that's probably what happened to mine is it got stuck somewhere.
yeah,
Uh,
but Patrick, you've got a real fiber laser.
I was fixing to say Patrick's talking about 1,000 watt fiber over there.
I am jealous of his setup with fiber lasers. It's fun watching him play with that stuff.
I think you can mark diamond with that fiber laser, can't you? You should try that. Go buy yourself a big diamond and see if you can engrave it.
A real big diamond, so
Yeah, a really
easy
big
to
one.
see. Yeah.
How do you enlarge CO2 laser lines in Lightburn? See, some lines are so fine that they're hard to see. And yes, that can be a problem. Two things you can do is either let your lens get dirty or pull it out of focus a little bit.
Um. Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming he's talking about output. and not the actual lines in the software. I've seen that in certain resolutions where the lines almost disappear on the screen. Um,
Yeah, I was thinking end result like on
yep.
material
Yeah,
or
unfortunately,
do
if it's in
multiple
focus, it's
passes.
going to be and you're doing just a line operation. It's just going to be whatever that focus point depth is. If beyond that, you got to do a scan or a fill to make it
Do
wider.
a, yeah, do a, if you're just doing a line, just do a 1 millimeter offset and run it as an engrave, and that way it'll be 1 millimeter wide. But yeah, raising it up if it's not autofocus is an option, and if it is autofocus, you can trick it by putting material on top of your material, focusing it, and then removing the material, running the job.
Okay. Yeah, it clarified yes on material. So, yeah, unfortunately, you either got to go multiple lines that are spaced apart, or you can try to defocus it to get a little bit. But that can be a game of diminishing results too. It's you
Yes.
get to a point where you got a real wide fuzzy line with a thick middle line that's darker, and it's yeah.
Yup. I have heard they've got a 70 watt coming out. Haven't seen it. Uh, haven't I don't know a whole lot about it, but I mean, the X40 is doing me a good job. So I mean, 30 more
I,
watts. That's a big jump, but
yeah, and I mean, I'm curious to see the size of the module. Um,
it's going to be like a paint can.
yeah, if they're using the same old diodes and the same technology. Yeah, like I said, the 40 watt in that S1 is pretty nice. Um, it's got a lot of power where even my 20 had struggled on some material, but I can't imagine 70. How that's gonna. It's
You
not.
said 40 watt in the S1. Were you talking about the Max?
No, I got the 40
Or
watt in
you,
the S1.
oh, I thought you. Yeah, but you've got the Max too, don't you? You had not put it together
I have
yet.
not been able to put it together. I told you about my day in my past week.
Been playing in the snow, working on cars,
Yeah.
playing mechanic. Ain't even got it put together yet. Oh,
uh, Robert's asking, do you know what happened with Xtool taking off the screens and frames off the site to purchase separately? Um, I know they had them included in their Kickstarter. I don't know that they ever got them listed on their site separately for the retail launch, and I think they're just trying to get caught up with all of their because they had like the Kickstarter and then they had some pre-order stuff. I don't know. I'm anxiously waiting, and I'm sure everybody who has gotten one or is looking to get one is waiting for the frames and the screens to show up because you know if you start playing with it much, you're going to want some extras. Um, Originally, I was told in January, and we still have a 10 days of it, so hopefully that comes through. And it's not later.
yeah. I went looking for the extra screens today, and because somebody had asked me about it, and I'm like, you know what? I don't know where you get them right now. So without ordering the whole kit, so I'm pretty sure that's going to be something they're going to update their site with. It's just like I said, some of this stuff takes time, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And Patrick saying CNC Molly spray gives some cool results, but not as user friendly as Surmark Brilliance. Yeah, I've played around a little bit of that. I actually even have some just raw, what is it, molybdenum is what it's in there, that I could mix into my own kind of spray or paste. I don't know that I'll get that deep,
Mm.
but
Well,
I'll
you
try
go.
to, I'm going to try to come up with a few of the typical ones and see if we can do some comparisons there. But it'll be that'll be a little bit yet. I got a few things that I got a little bit of a backlog here because I didn't get as much done the past couple weeks, and um, but we'll get to that as quickly as I can.
Bear Man saying he's supposed to have his Aeon Nova
Oh,
100 in a couple of weeks.
nice.
Congrats. Enjoy. Have fun. I think I'm done with new stuff for the moment until March or so.
Yeah, I well, I'm crossing my fingers for the forecast because that's going to make it easier for me to do some of the other stuff I'm wanting to do to the workshop. But I I'm hoping that this week I can pick up the material the extra material I need to work on the larger enclosure, and I also have probably got to assemble another rolling workbench for some stuff too. But I should have, I got some extra time that next weekend. I took a little extra time off to get through some of that. So hopefully I don't have any car issues or house issues or
Yeah.
non workshop related issues.
You'll get back at it. It's just, it has been, life has been picking on you a little bit lately, it seems.
Yeah, a little. Well, I also I've had a couple staff had to stay home this week because of illness. I have had, yeah, we were shorthanded at work as well. It's just been a pile.
Do, 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 do.
Robert's asking, does the IR laser do a good enough job to not have to get a fiber laser? Um, kind of going back to what you're wanting to do. If you're doing smaller charms and dog tags, things like that, it's okay. It'll get you through it. If you're doing once you kind of step into you got to batch stuff out and do multiple things beyond just like the occasional doing something. That's where having a more dedicated one. Also remember that it's really only going to mark. You're really not going to be getting any sort of depth out of it. I mean, you can slowly to a point, but if you're going for any sort of depth, you're definitely going to want to be getting into a fiber laser, and probably not just the 20 watt. Probably get more into the 50
Yeah.
watt when you get there. So
Yeah, like I said, the 20 watt that I've got is you've got it'll do it, but it takes multiple passes to get a lot of depth.
yeah, I
So,
actually brought the comm marker inside over this
hmm,
past month, and was kind of running some tests on the side and the background to kind of see what I could do. And I can tell you, setting up a job and forgetting to make the switch from millimeters a minute to millimeters a second, that'll be a hot job that runs for a while.
yeah. Robert's asking about what about sheets of metal for signs? You're gonna want to get if depending on what kind of metal you're talking about. If you're talking about steel, then you're gonna want to go get yourself a plasma table. If you're talking about aluminum, you can do it with a CNC, like a mechanical spindle CNC. But yeah, that would. I mean, if you're using aluminum or what copper or brass, a spindle CNC would be fine. But you get any of the steel like ferrous metals and stuff like that, you're gonna run into a problem using a regular router CNC, unless you know something I don't see.
Yeah, no. If the people who do a lot of the signs are really doing with the plasma, the CNC plasma machines. Um,
Yeah,
the steel signs that are cut out and sometimes slightly rusty and patinaed a bit or whatever. But yeah, you can get some really expensive high power lasers that'll do it, but that's you're talking industrial kind of at that point. So
that's basically say. Or you could go buy yourself a second house.
yeah, right.
I got a buddy that lives down the road, and he has a plasma table. So, like, I get a lot of people call me going, "Hey, I want one of these metal signs to hang on my front of my barn." And people tell me you made them, and I'm like, "By metal, what are we talking about?" And they're like, just a piece of like quarter-inch plate. I'm like, "Oh no, 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 no." So
Yeah.
I sent them to my buddy that's got the plasma, and it works the same way as the CNC or one of these small lasers. It's just it uses a plasma cutter and it's a lot bigger. It makes a lot of sparks. And I just don't think a plasma cutter in a dusty, wood dust covered shop would be a good idea. So I leave that to my buddy that's got the welding shop to do those.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of just it. I mean, any sort of metalworking, you do a lot of welding or any grinding, and you got that in a woodworking shop. That's you know, you're asking for a smoldering fire at some point.
Yeah. So so I send them down there to him, and he does the same thing with the other stuff that he can't do with his plasma cutter. He sends them to me, so works out good for both of us.
Oh. Well, Patrick says he tested Surmark and a diode does not work on copper sheet. So, um, there's some live testing of that question. And yeah, from what I recall, I don't know that I got Brilliance to work either, but I will, like I say, I will try to give that a test here in the near future.
Yeah. Norbert said all he's got is a little 5 watt or tour. He made himself $1,000 during December.
Pretty good.
Uh, yeah, you can do it. Like I said, it doesn't have to be a real powerful laser, but you're going to want to stick to projects that you can effectively do in a reasonable amount of time with whatever machine you have. And as long as you select the appropriate products, you can make money with most anything these days.
Yeah, it really comes up to more your creativity, because the more creative and unique you can be, the the more you can generally make per item, and you don't have to make so many or be so fast at it. Um, but but yeah, as long as you're managing your time, and that's why when people ask, should I upgrade my head to a larger one or get a second machine, I'll go with the second machine almost every time, because that alone can
Yeah,
probably double your productivity if that's what you're going for. You know, trying to be more
yeah.
productive and get more done. But
Yeah, like for the past 2 days, I ran all of those cutting boards that I've got stacked over there, one behind the other on the longer. And I had stove covers going on the X40 over here. And then I had the CNC over there cutting out stuff, which most of that was for the shop. But I had 3 different machines going at the same time, which in essence basically makes my hourly rate go up because I'm not necessarily having to sit there and do one and then wait till my machine's free and then do another. So yeah, and then wound up using the P2 to do the little cutting board. So I mean, I've run all 4 of these machines this weekend. I didn't use the P2 as much as I could have because I'm so used to this machine for my bamboo,
mhm.
and that bamboo is messy. Gosh, it's messy. I cleaned the machine before I did it, and I actually copied recorded the progress from the first bamboo cutting board all the way to like however many that is. I think number 20, and you can progressively see in the video the laser getting dirtier and dirtier and dirtier. So I'm going to try to put all that together and just kind of, make a little cool, like the progression of dirt because I did. I went in there with Windex. I cleaned the module. I cleaned the lens. I cleaned the whole machine. And by the time I got through with all of those cutting boards, the top of my fan was just white with that bamboo powder.
Yeah,
So
and that's the thing when people ask the question, how often should I clean my laser? Right there is a good example of it. It really depends on the material you're running, because I mean, you generally have pretty good air extraction in there, and some of them are just that dirty that
yeah,
it kicks up that much particulate that it's tough to keep up with it. So
yeah, that's on my table that's got the vacuum on it.
yeah,
So I mean, it's got plenty of airflow and plenty of suction, and you can watch the video. It doesn't get smoky in there. It's just that it's almost like bamboo dander is everywhere inside that enclosure. It's the stuff doesn't it makes powder. I don't think it burns. I think it just makes powder. But now, like I said, I did clean the laser before I started, so I mean it was and checked everything, so it was doing its thing. Boom,
yep.
boom, boom, boom. All right, hour and 20 minutes in, guys. Like, follow, subscribe, check out the Facebook page, all that good stuff. And I heard Steve tell y'all about the map earlier while I walked outside. So if you're not on the map, put yourself on the map with us. And if you're in Nevada, please, please go put yourself on the map
Or
because we
Alaska.
got this blank space. Is it Alaska too? I
Yeah,
didn't
we're
see that.
still
We
missing
have a
Alaska as far as the U.S. states, but
we want to get all 50 states, guys. It's like we're collecting like tags or something, I guess you could say.
well, we're also
Uh,
missing Antarctica for continents, so
I think we're done on that one, unless somebody just lies.
that in South America.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they don't understand us down there, Steve.
You're Southern.
Yeah, but I don't no habla español. So I'm not that well versed. Manos
Okay.
aquí. That's all I know. Manos aquí. It means hands up. I do know that one. Or manos arriba. I mean, I said manos aquí. Hands here. It's manos aquí. See, I'm rusty.
Yep.
I'm rusty. I ain't worked the road or kicked a door in so long, and I forgot everything.
Uh, well, let's see here. Norbert's got a question for us. What projects that you get asked to do that you do not like or prefer to do?
Oh, Norbert, have you been talking to Brandy? Because she's been on me today about this. I swear, Brandy must have emailed him or sent him a message or something and said, "Hey, ask this question." I'll let you go first because mine might be lengthy.
Um, I know a lot of people make money on these, but believe it or not, tumblers are not my thing. I don't know why.
Really?
Like I say, they're good money generally, because people will pay decent for them, and they're not that hard to do. But I don't know. I always have to gear myself up for them and go, all right, I guess we'll get this set up and go for it there. And but yeah, no, they're just not my. I don't know why I don't look forward to them.
All right. Well, if Brandy's watching, she's going to be sitting there just going, "I told him so." But hang on. Woo. I have an issue, and this has got to do with my mental defects that I have, guys, because I am mentally defective. I have OCD, but I also have my mind works weird. I don't like doing the same job over and over and over and over and over and over at all. I would never make it on an assembly line. If that was the only job I could have, I would not make it. Uh, Case in point, Brandy just got on to me today and said, "You're going to have to," those things, the stove covers. I started out doing them, but it's been about 2 years, and I made so many that I almost fall asleep while I'm making them. And my mind gets bored doing something that doesn't challenge it. Uh, I would much rather you say, "Hey, I'm trying to make something on the CNC to send somebody to outer space and try to solve that," than to be doing something that I could do in my sleep because my mind likes like it,
Hmm.
I like processing stuff and figuring things out. Brandy was telling her brother earlier, he was over here, and she's like, "Yeah, the repetitious stuff he hates." And she's right. I mean, I do. If it's something that I can almost fall asleep doing, I can't stand it. I like it to be something that challenges my mind, makes me think, makes me figure things out. That's why, like today, I would like work on stove covers for a little while, build something cool for the CNC. Work on stove covers for a little while, build something cool for the CNC. So that's why I come up with files and I build things and I design things because that's where the to me that's the enjoyable part is like somebody say, "Hey, I want something that can do this. Can you make that?" And then I have to figure it out, design it, build it, test it. That's the part that I like.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if I was gonna say anything, it's the repeat stuff. Now I don't mind the feed like I told her today, feeding the robots. I have no problem with that. Like my bamboo or my bamboo cutting boards and CNC projects, laser projects where I put material in there and I feed it and then maybe I touch it up with a sander or whatever. Those don't bother me, but when I spend a long time building stuff, it irritates me. But at the end of the day, it's kind of like she said too. In a year's time, that right there brings like a lot of money into the shack. So I can't quit doing it because I do need the money. But I seriously don't enjoy it. I won't say I hate it, but I don't enjoy it like I do the challenging stuff, creating.
Yeah,
And I knew she was watching. There you go, Norbert.
I can somewhat agree with that as well. Um, but in the yeah the bread and butter stuff can sometimes get tiring, except for that was me with the airplane stands and um it was I almost had a sigh of relief when my material costs went so high. When with Baltic birch plywood and other stuff for a little bit, I was like, yeah, this is a good reason to like maybe shift gears. Um, so, but it's you do it, but I also like the challenge of trying to make that process as quick and smooth as can be, so I can kind of do it on the
I,
side, right? Um,
See, that's where I'm at though. I've done that. I can make one of those stove covers seriously in the time that it takes for one of those to engrave. Like I can,
yeah,
I did it the other day. I made like 5 of them in 3 hours.
but but
But
but that's where, I mean, that's where you balance you've got it running smooth, running slick, as automated as possible, and it's bringing in money, so I can do other things. But I was gonna say, yeah, um, the I actually like it better when someone brings me an engineering problem, design something that does this.
yeah,
But the when it gets into the creative, making it look pretty, or being more
I,
just like decorative type stuff, I could design the widget or the box, but someone else often has to make it look pretty. So
well, that's what I keep. That's what I keep Brandy busy doing. Is because I can make the reef. I can design whatever. She can send me a picture and say copy this, and I can make it. But my bow selection or greenery or whatever you want to call it, the vegetation, I don't do that. I let her do that kind of stuff. But yeah, Mike, that is something in the future. Like I said, I know as things get busier and busier, I may have to start subbing out more. Klein is kind of my overflow, and I can use him, but like right now it's basketball season, so he's gone all the time right now. So I don't really want to put any more on him. But the stove covers, when I first started doing those, that was how I bought a lot of my tools and paid to upgrade stuff in my shop. I mean, and I've got a really good a really good relationship with the company. I've been doing it, like I said, for about 2 years now, and I mean, just to be honest, I mean, it brings about $13,000 a year into my shop, and that's a lot of power bills and tools and stuff like that from that one customer. So I got to keep it going, but it does. I have to like force myself and motivate myself to get over there and do them. Even though I've got it down to a science, like I can literally reach in this big box of screws, and it seems like every time I do, I come out with 7 screws because that's exactly the number of screws that go in the back side. And then you got the 2 holes for the handles. And I've made so many. That's like my brother-in-law was over here today. He's like, "How did you cut that?" And I was like, "With a skill saw." And he's like, "How do you get it so straight?" And I'm like, "Well, after you've cut about 600 of them, you get pretty handy with a skill saw." So, I've mastered it to the point to where I don't know that I can get it any faster or get any better at it as far as being able to turn them out quick. So it's gotten a little mundane for me. Uh,
yeah, that's something I hear other creators and makers say, is that after a while you just have to move on because your brain is on autopilot, and just it's like you say, it's not satiating as far as your creativeness or your engineering
yes.
style. So
Oh, she said, she says, she said it's not just stove covers, it's anything repetitive. And it's true. I can't help it. That's my disability. It's my disability and my superpower is the fact that,
you're a squirrel.
well, no, actually no. I'm monofocus.
Hmm.
Like I have laser beam focus to the point where you can tell me, "Hey, I need a solution for this," and literally I will figure it out before my brain quits working on it. I can't multitask real well. Uh, Now I will just lay stuff down, and walk away from it if I see something I think is more fun. I mean, that's not. I'm not squirreling. I just literally lay it down and walk away so that I can go do something more fun. Like today, I was making stove covers and I looked over there, and I had this cheap little thing on the camera, and I was like, man, that just looks cheap. It just looks puny. I was like, I could make something so much better. And then I come up with the whole slot and holes design. I'm like, hey, so
So what you need to do
that's
is
just
you need to shift your bread and butter from something that's as that's less manual. And that was the nice thing about my airplane stands, is if I was selling the kits, the time that I had to interact with them was a fraction of the time versus just feeding the machine, make sure that was running, swapping material out. So it felt easier. It actually, and I used to offer it both as a kit or as a pre-build, and I would upcharge for the pre-build, obviously, And I honestly got to the point where I was like, oh, why did this person order a pre-build? Even though I was making more money off of it, I was just like, I don't want to take the time now to stop
Yeah.
and build this up. But
Yeah. Well, and that's why I like file design so much and coming up with tools and like, adapters and things to help with this and things to help with that. It's just, it challenges my mind. It keeps my mind going.
mm-hmm.
And I like that. Standing in one spot, knowing every measurement, everything about something, it gets a little boring for me. So y'all know I was like I've got like hyperactivity disorder already. Plus, I've got hyperfocusedness. So you put hyperactivity with hyperfocused, and you're just wide open from the time you wake up till the time you go to sleep. Wide open. And then sometimes I have to like really make myself go to sleep because in my mind I'm still trying to finish solving that problem that I started on. So it's a mess up here, guys.
Well, but you get stuff done.
Can't help it. Now I do that. I get stuff done. I may tear up 6 things fixing one, but I'll get stuff done.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you, Mike. That's what it is. As Mike said, it's the satisfaction of solving a problem. Once it's solved, it's time to move on to the next
Yeah.
challenge. I am challenge oriented. I always have been, and so, or goal oriented is what they call it. That's what the people with the couches call it. It's goal oriented. I have to have goals.
Yeah, I wonder some days if he sleeps. Of course,
I do. I
like I
usually get at least 6 hours a night.
I get the same thing from other people. They ask me when I sleep, and if you could get rid of that, that sure seems like a lot of wasted time. So
Tim, I hit them with some early American stain, and then you can just go with a rattle can. The rattle can's the way to go. I can't stand brush on poly because you can never get all the streaks out of it. A rattle can's the way to go. You can either do polyacrylic or you can use satin uh, polyurethane. Polyacrylic, I like it. It seems to dry a little more flat than even the flat polyurethane. But yeah, that's the two approaches you can take. Uh, like I said, but I'm a rattle can kind of guy because I can't stand the little lines. And no matter what brush I use, unless you buy the $80 brush and you clean it thoroughly or throw it away and get a new one every time, I can never get all the lines out of polyurethane. It just, especially here, because it either dries so fast that it doesn't have time to flatten out or it just never dries. So that's why I like the rattle cans better.
yeah, they're a good way to go, especially for speed and whatnot. If I'm working on certain actual furniture projects, I'll use more of a wipe on poly, like Armor Seal or something. It's a little bit thinner than
Yeah.
the brush on, but that's a slow process because you're generally going 3 to 5 coats on it, and they're light coats, and they're 2 to 3 hours in between. So I mean, if you do a marathon stay up, you can maybe get your finishing done over a 24-hour period. But um,
Yeah, because you're talking about 3 coats, sand, and then recoat again, and then
yeah,
sand it, walk it
yeah, and,
down.
and
I
and the
mean,
wipe on stuff is such a thin layer. So, but
yeah,
that's why you go to
but
the
yeah,
hard wax
it
oil for
just
most of that stuff.
yeah, it just depends on the look you're going for too. I
hmm
mean,
Well, that's just it too. A lot of my stuff, I try to get away from some of the more plastic looking finishes. I like more of that natural oil look to it. That's maybe a little less shiny, but that's personal preference.
yeah. Well, around here they want everything to look rustic, and if it's too shiny, it does not look rustic. They would rather you take and sandpaper it down, beat it with a chain,
Yeah.
and drive nails in it.
Oh yeah, me too. I mean, that's just it. I don't like getting too much of a shiny or a glossy look to it.
Jody says she's looking for a file that will hold test tubes up at an angle that stands upright and will hold 200 test tubes. Wow. Yeah. I mean, you could build that. The angle part would be a little challenging with a laser. You'd have to just
No,
oversize and offset the holes, maybe.
uh, no, you could still have them square. You just have to have them parallel to each other. But
Or
two,
just when it leans, I'm just thinking it's going to be a tight fit, depending on how far apart you put them.
yeah,
You might want to oversize them just a little bit so that
the
it can let it lean.
the needing 200 of them. That's That's gonna be quite
It's
the
a big
size
file.
at 25 millimeter diameter. That's basically an inch. So it's a pretty good
Yeah,
size
that's,
item.
so you're looking at
Here's your
what
challenge.
20, 20 deep, 10 high, 20 wide. So you're looking at least needing a 30-inch long workspace because you're going to want to put, if they're 25, you're going to at least want to leave 10 millimeter space in between them. So yeah, I mean it could be done. Just basically just a really oversized box with a bottom in it and some holes, and a mid platform from the angle in. That'd be a heck of a file.
Yeah, Mark knows what I'm talking about. Hard waxed.
That's right.
I love that for furniture projects now. It's the buff off that takes a little bit longer, but it sure looks nice when it's done, especially if
Yeah, I've
there's
got
any
the
figure
rub
in the
on.
wood.
Yeah, I've got the rub on poly, and I like it especially for things that like have a lot of contours to them or whatever, because you don't have to worry about it puddling up and running.
Hmm.
Oh, I have done coffee cups, especially the little like they sell stainless steel. You can buy stainless steel little
Yeah,
coffee cups for camping and stuff.
yeah. The
I've done a lot of those. Well, I say a lot. I'm 6 or 8 probably, and then the Stanley. What do they call those things? Ramblers, rumblers,
tumblers,
whatever. No, it's like growlers is what
growl.
they call
Oh,
them.
yeah. We don't talk about those.
It's yeah. I've done a few of those. Those things are huge and they have a big handle that sticks up in the way.
Yeah, no, I've gotten some generic the powder coated stainless steel mugs. It's got the handle on them. The nice thing there is if you've got like the atom stack rotary where you can rotate it around and or block it up a little bit higher. That one works well even with the handle on. Some of them get a little too short or tippy. What you digging out there?
Oh, just some stuff. All right. So, somebody asked. All right, here's my options in the rattle can. That's your Minwax fast drying poly. This is clear semi gloss. I also have the same exact can over there. It's flat, and then I've got gloss. This is some Krylon triple thick clear glaze. That works really well. Also, especially if you're trying to like make something really really shiny, make it look almost glass. Uh, then I've got this is the Minwax, also in the rattle can polyurethane. This is a little. It's I think it dries a little slower it seems, but it does dry clear. Whereas this can actually give you like a yellow tinge
Mm-hmm.
sometimes. But the stuff I use the most is that right there, polyacrylic. And like the little sign that I did over here, let's see, where's it at? That sign right there that says Israel Cade, it's got 4 coats of polyacrylic on the front of it. And it gives it a different look. It almost looks as if it doesn't have anything on it until you get the light on it just right. You can kind of see it.
Yeah,
Uh, so
it's definitely
so
far more
it's
satin.
very good for rustic. And check that out. Check out those DIY hangers. Yeah. So yeah, it makes it waterproof ish, but it gives it that little bit of sheen, but not too much. So anyway, these are my rattle cans. Now I've got some buckets too, but we're not gonna get all those out.
Dart is asking if you have the rotary for the Niji Max 4. Now, technically, you could use most any rotary with that one. It's got standard plugs.
Yes, I don't have the Niji version, but I have others that I've used with it, with a Niji. I don't think I've used one with the 4 yet because I mounted mine on a spoil board. I did have another Niji that I used a rotary with. It was a 3-legged one.
Some guy named Dave.
Good name.
He's asking, I have the X-Tool 20 watt D1 Pro. I'm trying to make your interlocking jig kit, but I cannot seem to cut quarter-inch plywood. Any suggestions? Well, from one
Mm-hmm.
Dave to another, what do you suggest?
Check your focus. Is it a brand new machine? If it is, and you haven't used it before, make sure that your S value is set to 1,000 and not 250, because for some reason, some machines will come in as 250. Focus would be one of my big things. If you're not sure how to focus your machine, if it's a D1 Pro, be mindful that there are actually two focus adjustments: the main one on the left and then the secondary one on the right. If you're trying to cut, the secondary one on the right needs to be set to half the thickness of your material, as long as you're not going crazy and trying to cut a 2x4. And that'll help cut a little easier. Also, make sure you have either a honeycomb or some space under your work material, however you do that, and air assist. A D1 20 watt shouldn't have any problem cutting quarter-inch material at, say, 6 to 8 millimeters a second at 100% power. So if you're not, then I would definitely check those things.
Yeah, but also there are some plywoods that are just junk.
Yeah,
So,
there are,
um,
but
but
what,
you you
four or
should,
five passes on some of the really hard stuff, you should be able to knock it out.
yeah. I mean, you should be able to to get through most of it. I mean, usually when it's junky, it has some bad spots in it, or as I found in some material like nylon thread for some reason. Um, but yeah, if you're using XCS or Lightbird in millimeters a second, 7 or 8 single pass full air assist should get you through that.
Yeah. Now, like I said, unless it's that stuff that me and you have found that has like clothing in the middle of it.
Yeah, there are a few that
Oh,
are just junk.
Mike, typically any time the lowest I feel comfortable going, and I have cut a lot of plywood with lasers in my time. The lowest moving speed I like to use is 6 millimeters a second. Before I go slower than 6 millimeters a second, I'll run 2 or 3, 4 passes, whatever I have to do. Used to with my 10 watt D1, I'd had to run 4 passes at 7 millimeters a second to get through some of the stubborn quarter-inch materials. With a 20 watt, 6 to 8, depending on the machine. If you're looking at a Niji or let's say like the Algo, some of the other machines that have a real fine dot, some of the Sculpt Fun machines, you can get away with up to 8 millimeters a second with those 20 watts pretty consistently. 30 watt range, your 8 to 10 is your safe zone, I would say. And then once you get into like the X40, I can actually go 12 to 14, mostly successful with the X10 or the X40. But if I hit a knot or something like that every now and then, it'll still kind of hang up. So I've been running 10 to 11 with the 40 watt because the wood that I use, it's not the best stuff. It does have some knots and some glue pockets. So I like to overkill with the cutting ability. That way I don't, do like a 20-minute cutout and then when I pick it up, a letter break off of it or something because I have one little piece of wood holding. So, and like with the S1, you're looking at like 20 millimeters a second with air assist dropping the focus. So, and the Rolly, I think I'm at 12 or 14 with the 30 watt. So, anything over a 10 watt, like a 20 watt machine and above, you should be able to do most uh, quarter-inch material with one pass. If you go below 5 millimeters a second, just be real, real careful and do not leave it unattended because it can, you can start to get that, like, looks like carpet on fire to where it just, fire just starts spreading through the wood. And you don't even know it's a fire if you go too slow.
Yeah, it's really bad when it's on the bottom and not so much the top.
Yeah, you can't see it until the smoke fills your enclosure.
IG Creates is asking if I got the autofocus figured out on the IKEA. His seems to be working fine. Haven't had a problem with it. Awesome that yours is working fine. What the issue that I ran into with the 2448 one was that the autofocus would work fine unless I had homed the machine. And I tried many different things to try to get that to work. It would work 100% of the time until I homed it, and then the first time after that, it would fail, but then it would work fine. But then I would lose my XY origin. So never did get it sorted out. Did some firmware updates. I tried multiple machines. I mean, as far as like computers, they actually even sent me a different frame to try, and I had the same problem with that one too. So I don't really, I don't know if I just had two flukes or what, but I mean, I eliminated variables across the board, and it's strange. So
Yeah. Philip is asking, is it easier to use millimeters a second versus millimeters a minute? Mine has always been millimeters a minute, but I hear you guys talking about millimeters a second. Is it easy to change over to using millimeters a second? That's it's personal preference, I guess. But to me, I've been using millimeters a second since the X Tool D1 10 watt. It just works. I mean, it just it's easier for me to keep up with, and but basically you just multiply or divide by 60. That's all you got to do. If you're wanting to go from millimeters to a minute to millimeters a second, just divide it by 60. If you're going from millimeters a second to millimeters per minute, just multiply it times 60. You just got a lot bigger number, and I don't like numbers and I don't do math well, so I stick with the smaller numbers. And all of my settings that I've used over the years are in my head in millimeters a second. So
yeah, it's I started out. Well, actually, I started out inches per minute on the CNC router I had first, but then when I got my first laser of CO2, it was in millimeters a second. When I got the X tools, millimeters a second, but then everything after that, they were using millimeters per minute. And when I was doing a number of videos, I would try to go to the most common for people with that machine. Um, but yeah, then it gets a little tricky when you're jumping between the two and trying to compare uh, performance of one you did in millimeters a minute, and then you're jumping over to the millimeters a second, and you got to kind of do that math in your head to say, am I, is this an improvement or not? So it's really comes down to personal preference. I mean, you could set in Lightbird, you can set it to inches per minute or inches per second if you want, and really throw people for a loop. But uh, yeah,
yeah.
hey, just be glad us Americans are starting to use metric a little bit. you know,
Well,
whether it's in
I
minutes or
didn't.
seconds.
I never had used the metric system until I got into lasers, and but I'm gonna be honest with you. Now I've got to where I use it for everything because it's easier for me to do that than it is to sit here and try to figure out how to type in, an inch and 13/64 or an inch and seven
Mhm,
sixteenths. You know what I mean? Into a
mhm.
decimal. It's just easier. So
Well,
I don't know.
and when a lot of the
Call me not call me unpatriotic, but I'm just lazy.
I don't know about it. That has much to do with it, but um, it, the yeah, you totally drew it there, but um, I'm kind of the same way, but I still have like when designing. I don't know that I have one handy here. But I have these tape measures that have on one side it's got the imperial units and the other side it's got centimeters and millimeters, and that's been kind of really instrumental in me trying to sort through it, as well as that's one right there, as well as the fact that a lot of materials are likely more based off of metric than they are imperial. We talk about quarter-inch material quite a bit, but oftentimes it's closer to 5 or 6 mil than it is 1/4 inch. Um, Same thing with 1/8 inch. It's usually 3 millimeter, but
Brian knows me too well. I do it all the time.
well, yeah. But I read an article this week that Amazon's looking to try to monetize Alexa. So
Well,
they might be charging you for her services in the near future.
oh no, because then I'll just get one of my buddies to write me a little voice recognition program, or either I'll start using my Apple Watch because I got my Apple Watch right here too.
Well, yeah, but you got all your devices on Alexa, Amazon.
Yeah, but they're cross compatible. They work with Apple also. It'll be easy swap over.
Okay.
Besides that, if they wouldn't want to charge too much, as long as if I can get it to understand and close your Zilla, I'd pay a few dollars a week. But Anyway, but yeah, the metric system, like I said at first, I was just like, what in the world? So, but there's a lot less dealing with fractions. Like Mike said,
Hmm.
fractions are terrible for us math challenged people. So I stay away from them.
Well, a good machinist starts memorizing the decimal equivalents of most fractions.
I'm learning them, but I don't got time to sit still and memorize stuff. What did we talk about a while ago? I don't like doing repetitious stuff.
Gotta burn
So,
yourself one of those charts then.
well, I've got them all on my computer. I throw them up on top screen when I'm doing stuff.
You
Or either I just go, Alexa, how many inches is in a mile? Or Echo or whatever. I'm glad I didn't say it right. Uh, but yeah.
know. Yeah,
But I'll
there's.
sit here because, go ahead.
I was just say there's been some chatter. We were talking about quarter-inch material. People bringing up Revolution ply from Lowe's, and yeah, it can be a bit of a fire hazard in certain machines. But I found some stuff from Menards that's the same way.
That's some of it right there. If I ain't mistaken. This is what they call whiteboard or whatever. Yeah, the stuff that's got strings in it.
Yeah.
Yep. Which would be cool if you're trying to make a living hinge because it probably wouldn't come apart.
Yeah. Maybe.
It wouldn't break as easy. But anyway, see, we're at an hour and 51 minutes. So, guys, if you hadn't already, if you want to be on the map, go check out the links down in the description and put yourself on the map for the laser engraving community page. And if you're not a member of the laser engraving community page, you can go over to Facebook, check that out. And you do have to answer the questions before we're going to let you in. But we're just trying to keep all those sales robots, scammers, and identity thieves and stuff out of there. So apologize for the questions, but please answer them because if not, we don't know if you're a real person or not. Uh, and it's a good little community of a lot of the people that are in here tonight. And I've seen Chris and Brian and a lot of the others answer questions before me or you, either one, could get around to doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And they got some good information. They know what they're doing. They know what they're talking about. And so it's more of a help site for guys that are coming up and an inspiration for folks that are struggling with trying to learn it and just having that where you get to that point where you're like, okay, this may be too much trouble, but then you see some cool stuff that Chris done or one of the other guys, and you're like, okay, all right, I'm gonna keep going. So
Yeah.
not only can it be an inspiration, but it can be a help.
Just past day, Norbert dropped in his cool Valentine's Day thing with the kind of the box and the personalized rose there. So definitely
Yeah.
some ways to get inspired. And that's one thing I sometimes do is we'll just kind of browse through whether it's a Facebook group or even just you go to I went to this store up in the Twin Cities that they were kind of like a surplus store, but they just had this random stuff. And sometimes you can get some cool ideas just browsing through random things. But that's one nice thing about these groups is all the kind of between the questions asked, but the projects that are in progress, or even the questions I'm trying to do with this project, you can get some inspiration on things.
Oh yeah. And besides that, we're just a swell bunch of guys. Having fun, enjoying ourselves, getting a little cool in the shop. It's down to 64 in here, so I don't know how much longer I can take it. Uh, so, but yeah, it's been fun, like I said, and I'm hoping that maybe this week I can do some more videoing. It's supposed to get back up to normal temperatures here, so
Hmm.
hopefully that'll happen. Oh, I'll have to check on that and see if they'll fit. I don't know. I don't have one of the frames in here.
Does
I
that
keep those in the house.
does the Rolly have? I mean, because you've got the feet on it, so obviously you can work underneath it. Like if
Yes,
you take
with
the honeycomb and
limitations.
everything out,
Yes, with limitations.
because yeah, that
You have to take the honeycomb out and the base out. But I'm gonna be honest with you. I think the frame will fit because where the module rests, And to be honest with you, you could probably just shove it all the way back against the front of the machine as far as where it locks in. That might be something I can check because they did say it works with other machines.
Mm-hmm.
So I might could burn one on the MK. The only thing that I would probably do is either index it off of the left side of the honeycomb or something so that you have 2 points of reference, X and Y. But yeah, I'll have to play with that. I'll have to get one out here and try it and see. I've been wanting to do another video with that, but that would be actually be a good one. Because I know there are people that have the Lasermatic or Rolly that would love to be able to do stuff like that, and it would be interesting. So
Well, I'll have to come down and visit it in end of next month or April.
yeah, yeah.
Check it out.
Hopefully it'll be warmer up in here for you then.
Well, hopefully it's warmer up here by then.
Yeah, Dale, just stick with it, man. That's the only thing I can tell you. Study, watch videos. That's what I did when I first learned it because I would get to a stopping point where I was like, okay, what do I do now? And so I'd go watch some videos, do some research, and then go back, just keep trying.
Yeah.
Uh, Robert's asking, speaking of the cold with your shop, do you get do? I missed it. Does he mean DEW? Do you on your equipment with the cold and shop?
Yeah, so like the dew point is going to vary with temperatures and such. You
Condensation?
can get condensation on there. I do
I
not,
haven't.
but I also have a little bit of constant active heating in my shop, and my shop is very well insulated. As a matter of fact, the first year I had my shop, it was actually a garage, and we'd park our cars in there, and so they'd get snowy in the winter, and they'd go in the garage, and it was insulated enough that it would retain enough heat, things would melt. But the water, I didn't. It was so tight and sealed up that the water wasn't getting out, and I actually had a problem with a little bit of a mildew in there, so I had to run a dehumidifier for a little bit. But now that I've got it as a workshop, I'm circulating enough air. Um, but yeah, if it did get too humid and too hot and cold, that's why in the summertime I really need the mini split to be controlling the humidity more than temperature. It'll add a little bit of cooling, but then in winter it's almost the inverse. I almost needed to add a little humidity, but make sure it doesn't drop so much. But yeah, it is something to kind of the heat differential there can cause condensation on your whether it's your typical cast iron tools or on your lasers and such. So something to keep in mind.
Yeah. Well, good night to you there, Hobo. Have a good one. Yeah, Norbert, I agree. If you're not tearing stuff up, you're not really learning anything. If you're not wasting materials every now and then. But no, I actually have a mini split in here, and under normal Alabama winters, I would be fine. This little Arctic blast that we got from up at Steve's place, the temperatures have been in the teens. I think it's a little warmer than that outside now, but I haven't gotten around to. My back went out on me, and I had to have surgery, so this back wall has not been insulated yet. And then my front of my shop, of course, is a 16-foot metal door that you can, like, literally, you could put your drink on there and keep it cold in the wintertime. I'm threatening to get me like some insulation and some magnets and like magnetically attached insulation in the winter. But I've got to get around to doing this back wall, getting it insulated because it's drafty in here, especially when you're running a lot of lasers because you're pumping out. Especially like this week when I was running the S1, I was running this machine. These are just pulling air from here and blowing it outside. Now, Enclosure Zilla pulls the air in from outside and recirculates it and blows it back outside, which worked really well when it's cold because it keeps from pulling all my heat out. But I will say this, my stove covers were cold when I got them out of there because it's pulling that air from outside in, which, I guess if electronics like staying cool, I shouldn't have a problem with the module running hot on me right now. Now, this summer might be different. We'll see. But yeah, I need some more insulation. When I build my next shop, I'm going to spray foam it and everything. But this one, guys, literally, it used to be the pole barn where I park my tractor. And I made it into semi-enclosed space. But it's still drafty.
Yeah, well, mine Mine's got the 4-inch fiberglass insulation in there on the walls, which are, sheathed on the outside, house wrapped siding, and then on the inside that's drywalled and everything. So it's got some decent layers of insulation in there. But yeah, it's my thing is, and part of why I didn't just jump on whatever mini split last year is I was trying to make sure I got a northern climate one that's going to do better. I'm more concerned about being able to keep up with the heat in the winter than the cool in the summer, because it gets warm up here. It gets really humid up here, but it's not blistering hot. I'm trying to control that humidity and add just a little bit of cooling. Whereas in the winter, it's, yeah, gotta work a little harder up here. So, but we're at 2 hours. It's 9 p.m. here in the Central Standard Time. Not quite daylight's time. Hopefully that comes soon. Need my son.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be one of those nights where I need to go on in the house. Like I said, it's down to 64.2 degrees in here. But now, the odd thing is it's at 21% humidity in here, which is unheard of. So I shouldn't have a problem with my stove covers getting too much moisture tonight. That's good. But yeah, if you hadn't already, guys, hit those buttons, follow, like, subscribe, share, and if you hadn't, like I said, hit the like button down there. It helps with the ratings, so to speak. But we'll see y'all again next week. Hopefully, same time, same channel.
End of January.
But
We've made it through the month.
yeah, well, the next one, no, the next one will be right at the end of January.
Yes, it will.
And then don't forget, I will be in hot Atlanta end of February, first couple of days of March. So be looking out for an event on Facebook, or I'll let you guys know here. But I'll hopefully be able to meet up with a couple of you that live in the area and maybe go get something to eat and talk shop for a little while if things aren't too crazy over there at the event. So, but yeah, that's about all I got. Stay tuned. There may be some more videos this week because hopefully I'm gonna get some of these jobs caught up and I can do some more.
Yeah.
But I kind of went on a little bit of a rampage this weekend trying to get caught up on stuff.
Well, you got to do that every so often. But hopefully I'll be able to get back into the shop and get a few more of these videos out too. So
Or
always
if
fun.
nothing else, you can do like some mechanical how-tos.
I have not. Nope. That'd be a lot of cold weather. I would definitely not get monetized for that video.
All right. So, but like I said, stay tuned, guys. I'll probably try to create an event on my Facebook page to let you guys know about the trip. But if you're in the Atlanta area or just want to hang out in the Atlanta area for a little while, we'll be there. I think it's 29th through the 3rd. I think is when we'll be over there.
28th through the
And
2nd
yes,
is the
Robert, Brandy's going to be working on her screen printing, and I will be definitely playing with the CNC some more. I can't wait. I actually have one more bracket I've already cut that I need to put together. So, but y'all have a good night. Appreciate you watching.
We'll see you.